Well, good evening. Good evening. We are so glad that you're here. We're just really excited to be here. My name is Christopher Upperman. I'm from the U.S. Small Business Administration. Just really excited to be here. We have a wonderful program for you this evening, and I just wanted to share a couple things with you, a couple housekeeping items. Please put your phones on vibrate, no flash photography. We just ask that you just abide by those rules. We're just really excited to be here. We have some amazing speakers here. We have some amazing talent here. We have entrepreneurs. We have community leaders. We have cabinet officials. We have the historic Rep. Charlie Rangel in the house. Come on, let's give a round of applause. Good. And once again, just like I had mentioned before, my name is Christopher Upperman. I'm a senior advisor at the U.S. Small Business Administration. Just really excited. We are really pushing millennial entrepreneurship, really trying to increase access and awareness to opportunities for young people, and especially young people of color, to start businesses and become entrepreneurs. And we have a really dynamic program for you this evening. So at this time, I would like to invite Ms. Laura Miller to the stage. She is the head of Small Business Commerce Solutions. Laura Miller leads the small business segment for Commerce Solutions. In this role, she oversees the development and execution of merchant acquisition and has responsibility for product sales, channel, and account management. Laura joined J.P. Morgan Chase in 2009 after a very successful career at American Express. Most recently, she served as president of Small Business Card and Retention CEO. She has become known throughout the industry for her thought leadership and advocacy for small businesses. Previously, she served as the managing director of the commercial banking products and sales for the global commercial card business. She was responsible for product management and sales and relationship management for the commercial card products in the middle market and commercial banking business segments. Laura earned a bachelor's degree in marketing from the University of Arizona, sits on the board of nonprofit Action East, and resides in New York City with her family. And ladies and gentlemen, round of applause for Ms. Laura Miller.
Well, thanks, Chris. Wow, what an intro. I think he went and covered my whole life. It is awesome to be here. Wow, what a cool place, right? And what a great group of people to be around, entrepreneurs. It is, I would say, very inspiring every time I get the opportunity to interact with all of you. So, as he said, I'm Laura Miller, and I'm responsible for our small business for Chase Commerce Solutions. And we at Chase are incredibly proud to be here. We are also proud to be the presenting sponsor of National Small Business Week in partnership with the Small Business Administration. This week helps everyone shine a light on millions of American small businesses, the 4 million Chase serves, and many more that we'd like to get to know. We are joining the Small Business Administration at events all across the country, like this one here in New York City, to celebrate and help business owners with tools and resources. Across the country, Chase serves more than 4 million American businesses, including over 500,000 here in New York City. Not really a numbers game, but we do think the combination of our scale, investment in our technology, our professional relationship management is truly a winning one. We try very hard to make it easy for business owners to control their finances so they can focus on running their business. Last fall, we launched a brand, Chase for Business, to help convey our mission to be the bank for business. We took a hard look at the fact that we have all the financial services a business owner needs: transaction accounts, cash management, lending, credit cards, and payment processing. But we could improve on how these products work together. Our main focus is making the parts of Chase work better together for all of our business owners. And we feel pretty good about how we're doing, according to our small business customers who recognize us with #1 and #2 ranked J.D. Power and Associates. Of course, I must also mention how proud we are to be among the top SBA lenders in the country each and every year. Beyond banking, J.P. Morgan Chase is very focused on supporting the people and the organizations that support small business. That's why we are sponsoring National Small Business Week and why we have programs such as Small Business Forward that help fund nonprofit incubators and accelerators across the country. One of those incubators is here in New York, Grand Central Technology, which is helping local tech companies scale. We're also deeply committed to supporting entrepreneurs from all communities. That's why we invest in CDFIs, or Community Development Financial Institutions, that provide small businesses with the on-ramp they need to improve and grow their operations, often before traditional bank financing is an option. One of those organizations is VEDC, which recently launched a $30 million fund dedicated to helping African American entrepreneurs in the 3 cities home to the greatest number of African American owned businesses: Chicago, Los Angeles, and right here in New York. We at JP Morgan Chase are thrilled to seed that fund so more business owners would get help to start and grow. It's one of several ways we are looking beyond banking to make a difference in the small business community. So again, thank you to the Small Business Administration for including Chase in tonight's event and as a presenting sponsor of this very special week. And congratulations to all of you who own businesses or aspire to do so. From all of us at Chase, we are proud and applaud you, and we thank you for making New York and the whole country a better place to work and live. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Laura. We really do appreciate it. At this time, I'd like to call up Tamika Montgomery. She is the Associate Administrator for Entrepreneurial Development in Washington, D.C., and she oversees all of SBA's counseling, training, and technical assistance.
Thank you, Chris. So really quickly, how many of you prior to this evening's event had heard of the Small Business Administration? Can I just see a show of hands? Great. And then how many of you have had actually accessed the resources of the U.S. Small Business Administration? Far fewer hands. And I kind of figured that would be the case, and that's the reason why we're doing this event. And the reason why we've been really promoting entrepreneurship and really being intentional about reaching out to communities and individuals who oftentimes may not be walking through the doors of our resource partners, of our district offices, who may not be engaging with SBA. However, the beauty of it is that SBA is the only federal agency whose mission is solely committed to helping you start and grow a successful small business. And when we think about economic empowerment in our communities, entrepreneurship really is a pathway towards having that happen for us. Which is so important, because I think if some of you have heard, the census came out and they projected by 2044, America will be majority minority. And so what that means is that we want to make sure that the majority of individuals are accessing and fully participating in the entrepreneurial economy. And so today's event, today's culmination of this video series is really to show you those individuals who have been able to really take advantage of this opportunity, the American dream. And we want to put this out in front of you to let you know, one, that it's accessible to you, and then secondly, that SBA can be your partner to walk alongside of you and provide you with the resources to achieve your entrepreneurial success. So I'm so pleased to have you all here, so pleased that we're able to share this great video series that Mike has been able to pull together in this wonderful event that Chris has pulled together. And so with that, I'm going to hand it back over. Enjoy. Thank you.
Thank you, Tamika. I really appreciate it. Great words. And this time, I'm going to invite the co-host of this event with us, a gentleman that we've been working very closely with, who is very passionate about entrepreneurship, small business ownership, and increasing opportunities for young men, and especially young men and boys of color. I want to introduce to the stage Mike Muse. He is SBA's MBK Millennial Entrepreneur Champion. He is focusing on all things entrepreneurship, engaging with you young folks out here. We're going to get this thing started. Mike's a great partner of ours.
Thank you, Chris. Looking good, brother. What is that, velvet? That is amazing. I mean, Mr. GQ here. I think different event here. I think the Met Gala was last night, Ty. I think we should have had Chris with us with that. I said with us as if I was with you, right? I was with you on Instagram watching, but I technically wasn't with you, right? Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is an honor to be here. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to see so many beautiful, wonderful faces here to our commitment, as our team MBK Champ says, change the narrative. And really more so, I'm just looking in the front row and I'm just in awe of what we have gathered here on 125th Street. I'm a big believer in optics. My team and the SBA knows I'm a big believer in exposure. So to have the administrator, Maria Contreras-Sweet here, to have Congressman Charlie Rango. I mean, my God, again, and Congressman Charlie Rango. And then to have, yes, here. And then if one cabinet secretary wasn't enough, we have two cabinet secretaries with Mr. Secretary Broderick Johnson here. But what they're here for is when you pull it back is what makes this moment and this night special. They're here because they're investing in our community. They're here because they're investing in young men of color and young boys of color who are looking for opportunities for a way up and a way to improve their communities, a way to improve their neighborhoods through economic empowerment and making sure they're exposed to the great panelists that we're going to have here later on to say that you matter. Changing the narrative matters. Our young men of color matter, but we're also going to invest and show you how, and then we're going to have the support of the cabinet and the Congress here. I mean, my God, that is something special. So without further ado, I am going to get this program started because I'm going to be talking all night, so I don't have to give too many keynote speeches because y'all know I love to talk. So I'll try and contain myself because I am just so full right now. So without further ado, I am going to bring someone up to the stage who is so special to me, who has become a friend, who has become a partner, I like to say, in crime. I also like road buddy too as well, traveling partners. The one who has really authorized all this and who has said yes. I think it's important to note that she said yes. She said yes to this idea. She said yes to this MBK initiative, and she said yes to us tonight. And so as she comes up to the stage, I want you to give her an incredible round of applause for having the courage to say yes. And it's no other than Administrator Maria Contreras-Sweet of the U.S. Small Business Administration. Yes, you come.
Yes.
Yes, take mics. We're going to switch. No feedback.
All right.
Madam Administrator. I mean, I think this is like our 1-year anniversary now.
It is.
Yeah, we
right.
did this last year doing National Small Business Week.
Yeah, we did.
And we had a great conversation then.
On the other end of the country,
Literally.
we were in Los Angeles.
Oh, look at her stunning.
Yes.
Stunt. Yes, and where were we, Madam Administrator? Where were we?
We did
were we?
the real
Yay!
show.
You so Hollywood. Ooh, you so Hollywood. Administrator, it's just so great to see you. And I meant everything I said when I said, just thank you. As you travel around the country, as a congressman traveled around the country, putting in the work for a number of years, as our Mr. Secretary, as he travels around the country, we know the importance of this work. And we know also it's important, but we also know how challenging the work is. And we also know how challenging it is to change the narrative, and really change mindsets, right? From people able to make decisions, from people actually able to give capital and give access and partnerships. And so I just can't thank you enough for standing up for young men of color and for people that you represent on a daily basis. It's not easy. I've only been doing this for like a year, and I'm like, this is hard, but so worth it. So what is it about you that you always say yes? You say yes to this idea. You say yes to these young men of color. Like, what is it about you that makes you want to say yes?
Oh, thank you for that question. But, you know, anytime you receive any sign of affirmation, you really have to acknowledge the men and women who make things possible. And so I have to tell you, to have been in, I was in Los Angeles running a small community bank that I founded, and I received a call from the White House.
Yes.
So can you imagine it was, what did I do wrong? Did I not pay my taxes? What went wrong? Did my bank do something wrong? And so when you get the privilege, a true privilege, to serve on the president's cabinet, and I admire all of my cabinet colleagues, but the fact that I was asked to serve as the voice for small business, when I think entrepreneurship and hackers and disruptors is the coolest thing ever, and it's become a global phenomenon.
Yes.
It's just, it is hard work, but it's just so energizing, when you see the rewards and what's taking place out there. So I have to say, when you ask me that question, that it starts with the President of the United States. He believes that entrepreneurship is the most powerful force that the world has ever seen to lift people out of poverty. And I respect him for that. And so to that extent, I hope that you have seen that he has hosted maker fairs at the White House.
Yes.
He has hosted mom and pops. He really works hard, and he's now convening people from around the world. And there's one program that I really love, in addition to My Brother's Keeper, where our cabinet secretary in the White House, Broderick Johnson, really heads up, and you're going to hear from him. But the other program that I really love is the president believes that to the extent that we can meet each other and connect, to use, instead of saying we're minorities, how do we use that as the wind to our back as empowerment? And so he's saying, for example, there is so much opportunity in the continent of Africa. How do we connect millennials here and take down the borders of the marketplace and create new matches of people so that together they can go sell things in China, as an example? And that's the glory of what we're doing here today, is lifting people up, reminding them that 95% of the world's consumers are outside of the United States.
Yes.
How do we team up as opposed to competing with one another? How can we team up to become partners, brothers and sisters, and go out and capture 95% of the world's consumers outside of the marketplace? So that's what SBA is working on. That's what drives me, and that's what gets me to yes, is to figure that is the magic of entrepreneurship, to create more jobs, which creates a stronger middle class, which assures our democracy.
Yes. Well, getting to know you, I understand why you say the things that you say. But as we're in politics, and I think this room is very astute with politicians, and I think we're watching the cable shows, and I think some of us subscribe to certain publications and certain newspapers, and I think we're getting a sense across the country that some people are just frustrated with the talk, right? And some people are just frustrated with not having enough action. But you have this awareness of other than self. And you have an awareness of how to advocate for others. And I love how you brought in the world and Nigeria and the globe. But I think that has to do something with what's called like exposure. So I know who you are, but let's let the audience understand, what is your constitution? How did you become Maria Contreras Sweet? I know you're from California, right? I don't want to lead the witness here, right? So what is your constitution that has allowed you to have this exposure? Congressman, interject, yes.
Before our distinguished guest shares with us how fortunate we are to have her, let me apologize to both of you and to this august group. I know it surprises all of you that I have a political engagement this evening that has to do with Hillary and, of course, my successor. But when I heard that the SBA and Maria Contreras Sweet was coming in with Mike Muse, especially coming into Harlem at the world-famous Apollo Theater, I had to come to formally greet you on behalf of this wonderful Harlem Village. And
That is so
Thank
good.
you.
Is that
for
great?
coming. And of course, to this audience, I just wanted to share with you the rich history of this theater. I've been sneaking in here since I was 15 years old, and it has a tradition of giving hope. People have come in here wanting to become stars, and they've left become stars, and Harlem closed down after the riots, and we went through some bad economic times, but through Clinton, the empowerment zones, and the low-income housing, we've come back, and a guy named Percy Sutton, how many people know him? Yeah. Well, he brought back the Apollo, and that's shown a light on our 25th Street economic corridor, and quite frankly, we haven't looked back. And so when we reach the point that we can bring cabinet officials here, and Mike Muse is doing so well
Thank you.
for My Brother's Keeper, and the fact that I'll be leaving Washington, I would just like to say that it's exciting to see that we have this attention now. And believe me, what caused me to rise is you mentioned something about what's going on politically. And I think for national security purposes, we ought to be concerned is what's going to happen in January. So having said that, I will going out trying to do that. But by the same token, we have a long way to go. And the fact that we need the SBA and my brother's keeper, it pains me to realize that if only we gotten that 40 acres and a mule, we wouldn't need no damn SBA. If only we could have shaken off the pains of slavery, then we would have been able to associate in this society, knowing that we would have decent schools, a decent place to live. And when we were born, our parents' hopes and aspirations would be just what kind of professional would we be? And so because we have a black president and still are nowhere near the fact that kids are born with the same opportunity, we welcome what you two are doing, and we encourage all of you to recognize that we need a lot of help for our young people. I've had so many meetings in asking the question that you do, how many of you are interested in starting a business? And we got that much of the white man's dream, be a businessman. And then I asked the next question, how many of you ever made a payroll? And no hands go up. So we really are starting from the beginning. And make no bones about it, the frustration that's going on today are not because the multinationals are not making obscene profits. It's because the middle class have lost their hopes and dreams. 80% of all of our jobs are small businesses. It's small businesses that hire people. It's small businesses that you go out and buy the things you want. So General Electric and General Motors, they're international. But what you two are doing is resparking what America is all about. It's about us. Each and every one of you will have to light an additional candle to get the hopes back of what people are talking about today. And so I was so pleased that you've come here, and whatever my office, my successor, the city council, we work together as a team. Harlem is coming back. The empowerment zones have made such an exciting difference in helping small businesses. We shouldn't have to need that much help, but that's history, and we gotta move with what we got to work with. But you two do make one heck of a difference. I want to thank you personally. I know this is going to be successful, and I've never, well, my wife said I never had a job, but after the Army, I became a U.S. attorney. Then after that, I spent 4 years as the New York State Legislature, then 46 years in the Congress. So I should stay because I'll be leaving the Congress in December. If you have any ideas about a small business,
I have a few for you. I have a few for you.
It's never too late. Thank you so much.
No.
Have a great session.
Well,
Let me just say, this, when we see greatness, sometimes the proximity of it doesn't allow us to fully appreciate it. This is a human being who has challenged and succeeded in so many fights on behalf of our community. And we owe it to him to acknowledge his lifelong legacy of work on behalf of the community, not just in the local community, but for the country and for people of difference. And I want to salute you personally. We are honored that you are with us here. And I say the least we can do is give him a standing ovation
Yes.
of a life well lived. Please join me in celebrating Church. Please, he's remarkable. The Honorable Charlie Rangel, thank you so much for honoring us with your presence. Remarkable, just remarkable. Wow, that was such a great gift.
I mean, when the Honorable Charlie Rangel interrupts you, you stop
just
the
stop.
program
You just
and you listen. And then when he begins to bless you with
Yes.
words of wisdom,
Oh,
you
he's
sit in awe and you forget you're moderating a panel and you become a fan.
Yes, of course.
I literally am a fan.
No question.
So I'm trying to get back to being smart and analytical and logical and linear. I mean, Charlie Rangel, for me, he just represents, Madam Administrator, what you and I talk about all the time,
Right.
about doing it your way. And Congressman Rangel has a way of introducing policy, but he has a way of telling stories and narratives, and he has a way of fighting. I mean, even when you see him do his beautiful waltz with his wife, right? When you see him two-step and you see him sway, and you see him look so smooth and GQ and debonair. For me, growing up as a young black man, he, to me, suspended the reality of what a politician looked like. And so for him to say that to us right here is very overwhelming,
Very, very
if you
profound.
will. But it really just speaks to our partnership, right? And what it is about us doing it this way and doing biz our way and showing young men and
Right.
people of color that you don't have to be this certain one type. You don't have to go this one way, right? But you can do it your style.
Right.
Through music, film, fashion, technology, whatever
Right.
your interests are. So maybe just talk about our partnership and
That's right.
what we're doing
Mark,
together.
one of my favorite quotes, just to tee off of him, because he is so magnanimous, is it reminds me of Martin Luther King. And you remember one of my favorite quotes, and I was delighted that it was featured in the movie Selma. It was, "What good is it to be able to sit at an integrated counter if we can't afford to buy the hamburger?" And Charlie has always understood that. The great congressman has always said, we have to advance on civil rights, but we have to push forward on market rights. And so to the extent that SBA can be with you, not to go back to buy the hamburger, but to help you go back to buy the restaurant is what we want to do. We want to build ownership, business ownership, so we have something for our families and legacies. And we have not just the Googles and the Facebooks, but we have businesses and corporations with our names and our last names and our legacy and our mission and value system. And so that's why those stories are important to me. He has had a long fight, forever,
Yes.
to try to advance our community. And the reason I take what he says to heart is, for many of you, you don't know, I was born in Mexico. I arrived here as an immigrant, and I was 5 years old. And when you asked me about my value system, I still remember becoming, just trying to learn language, trying to understand what Thanksgiving was. I never saw such a big chicken when I saw that turkey come out. It was just like, oh, this is a great country. They even make really big chickens. But it was really quite something. But the truth is then, I remember writing to my grandmother saying, I'm really making great progress. I've just become the 3rd grade milk monitor. And she said, I just hope that you remember that it's not the titles you have that is important. It is what you do with the titles that you have that is important. You have to bring others along. And for those of you that have served our country, for example, in the infantry and any armed forces, you know that when you're in a rut, when you are in a bunker and you're under attack and one of your partners comes in to pull you out, you do not latch on with 2 hands. You grab with one and you pull another behind to make sure that you're bringing somebody behind. That is what that man is about. Those are the values my grandmother taught me, and I know it's what drives you. And that's why when I was called to serve this administration, to think about what the president's value system was, to use entrepreneurship, to go into communities like Flint, to go into communities like Baltimore, to go into communities like Ferguson, where the SBA has gone, to say, if you can't get a job with SBA, you can start your own. And that's what this millennial program is all about. Thank you. So we are committed to that end, to say, how can we give you a skill set? And we see people who are great on YouTube, and then they convert that into a business. They're really good stars and have a great voice, and how do we get them to become consultants with that? And so that's our job, and that's what I get great joy of, and why it is that the SBA said when the president announced that My Brother's Keeper we at SBA said there's going to be an entrepreneurial component to that. Yes, there's education. Yes, there's a social, there's a labor component, but there must be an entrepreneurial
Yes.
component to it. And that is why we were smart enough to call on Mike Muse, because we know we do not have the cachet we'd all like to have. We're not as cool, or my kids tell me, Mom, you are not cool. And so we knew that we needed to attract people like yourself that really has a great brand across the country to help us lift entrepreneurship and bring it to communities that normally would not think of coming to the Small Business Administration.
Thank you. Well, I think you're cool. So I just want to put that out there, and we're
Thank
cool
you.
together.
Thank
But
you.
Madam Minister, I just want to ask you one question before we bring Mr. Secretary up here. You actually talk about your upbringing. You talk about you being a Latina. You talk about you being a business owner. You invoked your grandmother. You also invoked that moment of grabbing and then pulling at the same time. How do you invoke that in your job? How do you advocate for people of color? How do you advocate as being a Latina and a business owner when I'm sure you may get pushback of that term, what about the others, right? How do you cut down the middle with that so that you do that? Because that's a very difficult nuance, because
Yeah.
we all bring our experiences into whatever area that we're in,
Right.
no matter your background. So
Right.
how
The
do you do that?
beauty of the Small Business Administration, and why I urge all of you to come and experience some component, and if it doesn't work for you, I hope that you'll let us know, because just like our democracy, the SBA is a work in progress. But the really important thing to share is that it's not as though there is a fixed denominator. You know what it is, like people want counseling. We don't say, oh, we're done because we just did 10 counselings today. If there are 12 to be done, if there are 15, if there are 1,000 counselings to be done, we manage it and we fit them in. So it's not as if we have to put a cap on the work. So there's no competition. If a woman comes in, if a Latina comes in, if an Asian comes in, an African American comes in, we have the capacity to do it all. And the really beautiful thing I have to share with you, because we do three things. If you take anything away from what I say, I hope that you'll remember these three things. And that is that SBA provides unlimited counseling to somebody who is contemplating starting a business or repairing or growing their business. And I love that we've made it in a really accessible way. For example, the LGBT community. We hear that they've been having, obviously challenges. We've seen the legislation, and we say we want to empower the community. And so we went out and launched a program called Business Builder, where we're going out and reaching out to communities. The deaf, the hard of hearing, they're over 40% unemployed. And so we launched a video relay service to be able to provide them counseling in a way that they're comfortable so that they can start services for their own community. We have for our aging population, they lived a long, hard life, sometimes in a corporation, but they still say, I never fulfilled my passion. So we have an Encore Entrepreneur program for people who are transitioning out of uniform from their military service. We call it Boots to Business, and we have strategies for that. So all these counseling programs, that's the C. The next one is that then you say, but now that I have a great plan, I need access to capital. So we were talking earlier, if you need access to capital, you go to a bank. That's where you go, whether it's an online channel or a conventional bank, you walk in. But sometimes you don't qualify. The SBA stands in. Some people have a wealthy uncle. We're your Uncle Sam. And so we come in and we stand in to guarantee your loan, which sometimes that gets the bank more often to say yes. Yeah. And so we're really delighted that we have this partnership with the Chase here today, because they're one of our strongest lenders. And the third thing that then you say, I need customers. I need access to markets. And so what we do at the SBA is we take the largest procurer in the universe is the U.S. government. And SBA takes a quarter of that spend and directs it to small business. So we go to the Pentagon, we go to the laboratories and Department of Energy and all across government, and we say 1/4 of your spend has got to be going to small businesses. And then we have sub-goals that we assign them. So many African-American, Hispanic, we do the whole thing. And that's how we're creating a stronger middle class. And that's what's so exciting about the programs. So it's not as though we're competing. And the Congress gave us another goal, not just the quarter of contracting to small businesses. They gave us a 5% goal for women. 5%, ladies. But the point was that the U.S. government had never reach that goal. And when I arrived, I was dog determined to meet that goal as well. And so I'm proud that just a couple of weeks ago, I stood with Valerie Jarrett from the White House, and we announced that for the first time, the U.S. government actually exceeded the goal of 5% of contracting with women. It's really great.
That's amazing. Well, I couldn't think of a better way to introduce our next guest with a round of applause. And Madam Administrator, I suggest you do the honors of introducing this next gentleman.
Well, I have to tell you that, there's a whole bunch of us, right? About, I don't know what now the number is, Broderick knows, but I think there are about 15, 16 of us that report directly to the president as cabinet members, the Secretary of State and Defense and Energy. And you can imagine that the president has got much bigger priorities than always worrying about our whereabouts. And so he has one, what I call really supreme being who coordinates our activities and reports to the president and reports on whether we're naughty or nice. No. And so, but we all love him. And this is what we call the cabinet secretary. Ladies and gentlemen, please meet Mr. Broderick Johnson.
Welcome to the conversation, Mr. Secretary.
What's that, Supreme what?
Supreme being, I believe, the almighty, omnipotent, all-knowing. And I think the reason why she can say that, Mr. Secretary, is because what she left out, it was a brilliant introduction. But what you left out was that you are a Michigan man, a University of Michigan, Wolverine,
Right. Go blue.
Go blue.
Go blue.
That's the most
There we
important
go.
part of
There
your
we go.
intro,
There we
man.
go. Yeah.
My best memory of
You want to sing a fight song here?
literally, we did this in his office for a meeting, and it changed my life forever. Singing the victors at the White
We
House.
almost got thrown out, too.
Literally being a little bit too loud. Mr. Secretary, it's just an honor to have you here on the
Honor
stage
to
with
be here.
us as we celebrate the second anniversary of the My Brother's Keeper initiative, but more so as we celebrate and as we continue to change the narrative on how we see our young men of color entering the entrepreneurship space and kind of doing it their way. And I mean, just start talking, if you will, but more so, let me guide you a little bit. Why did the president even begin this initiative? And what was that process like when you guys actually, if you can just walk us through that back room conversation, as you guys were so bold to say that we're going to focus on a program such as this. Tell us about that conversation, and then tell us about the why and why you guys have stayed so resolute for 2 years in this space.
Your enthusiasm is great, Mike. Let me just say that.
Thank you.
It truly is. And let me start also by just thanking this exceptional member of the President's Cabinet, the administrator. I get to work with all the cabinet members. There are favorites, and you're among my favorite because of, and I mean this because of your commitment to the work that you do for small businesses, for the folks that you empower on your team, but also for caring so much about MBK, right? Because MBK, this isn't easy, right? This is having to look at what really inspired the president to do this in the first place, that is, use his power as president. And that was the tragedy of Trayvon Martin and the verdict. And I remember talking to the president not long after that, and he said, I've been working on these issues. We've got programs. I've been concerned and working on these issues since I was a community organizer. But as president of the United States, I want to use my power with all the federal agencies and all the resources at my disposal, but also my power to convene people, to bring people together from the public and private sector, and to change the way we do this work. There are hundreds of programs in cities that work on boys and young men of color issues and other children who we would regard as vulnerable. But a lot of times people spin their wheels, or they don't have a sense of collaboration, or they can't get people to the table. And so what the president understood he could do was bring people to the table. And so that's really was the genesis of My Brother's Keeper. And 6 months after he came to the nation, or spoke to the nation about Trayvon Martin, he started My Brother's Keeper from the East Room of the White House.
Wow.
And Mike, if I could just say something about where he did it, and I would certainly ask all of you to go to the White House website. The fact that when you go to whitehouse.gov, there's a page that takes you to My Brother's Keeper, and there is a robust description of what we do, but also profiles of the people that we are helping along the way. But you'll also see some what I'm sure will be iconic images of this presidency. First of all, when he signed the initiative, the presidential memorandum, he did it from the East Room of the White House. That's where bills get signed. That's where the civil rights legislation got signed. The president wanted to make sure that it had all the formality, the pomp and circumstance of anything else that he did. So I'd invite you to go and look at that photograph of the president signing the memorandum with like 20 young men of color standing behind him. I mean, that's rich, right? And that says an awful lot about what this means to him and what this means historically.
I mean, Mr. Secretary, you're right. I think, as I even mentioned earlier, as we began the program, we really talked about optics, right? And we talked about how optics is power. Imagery is very powerful. So to see these young men of color stand behind him, and then to see you by his side, together advocating for that, I am moved by that, and I'm in it. And seeing you two in the cabinet fight the way that you do energizes myself and my team to keep having these very difficult and challenging conversations, which leads me to my next point. You mentioned what kind of sparked this initiative was a Trayvon Martin. As you travel across the country, and as you travel across the country, Administrator, and as I go across the country, young people of color have a myriad of issues, a myriad of problems, and we often try and tackle them all. And then we often try and prioritize, which is more important. Maybe said issue is more important than said B.
Yeah.
But for you, Mr. Secretary, why is it important for economic empowerment? What is it about our entrepreneurship initiative that really speaks to you and the president and to the cabinet on why economic empowerment is important to kind of help change and solve some of our issues that we are currently facing in our nation?
So let me say this in terms of, first of all, the construction of the task force, so to speak, the people who are, or the cabinet secretaries who are part of it. You would expect the Secretary of Education, you expect the Secretary of Health and Human Services, because so many issues are about education. You expect the Attorney General and Department of Justice. But would you also expect the Small Business Administration, the Department of Commerce, the Department of the Treasury, the Department of Energy to all be part of it as well? Probably not. But that's one of the things that makes this so different, is that those including within the White House, the Council of Economic Advisors, which, by the way, issued a report on the economic imperative of my brother's keeper. Again, looking at this not just as an issue of moral responsibility of this country, but economic responsibility. And the president has been very clear, we cannot compete globally if we continue to leave millions of young people off the field. And that is what we've done for so long in this country. And so that's why we're working so much with the economic arms of this administration.
For example, just to give you an example, when I went to visit Flint, to walk around with these families that aren't getting the, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, water's at the bottom. That's the most fundamental thing that we need to build life. And talking to the mayor and walking the streets and visiting with the families, they said, and obviously I'm not against, large or small. I think we need them both. But when they said that so many corporations had left, you remember Flint was a mega automobile industry giant job creating machine. We had like 90,000 jobs, and now they're about 1,900. It's changed dramatically. But what the people did, they were on their own, and they said, we must start building our own institutions because no one's coming to help us. And so I went to visit a small business restaurant. Then everybody honored him, went to that family-owned restaurant. He was able to build a second one and a third. He now has 4 all connected. The kitchen in the middle, so he's able to build efficiencies out to take care of his customers. I've seen that domestically, and we just left Colombia, Medellin. Do you know what was going on in Colombia and the arms and everything that was taking place? And they shared almost an identical story. I want to tell you that, Mike, they just said, we were all on our own, and we just said, what are we going to do? And the young kids just came forward and started building their businesses and supporting and sharing their dollars and pulling their dollars and changed this community and are now changing the country. That's the power that we have within us, and that's the power we're trying to harness.
Yeah. I mean, that goes through just a couple of issues, right? It goes back to the notion of Flint and the dire need and how different needs pop up on a continuous basis. And Mr. Administrator, that goes to what you were just saying in terms of how important the work is, but also too recognizing that this is just the second year, right? And as you recognize how much more needs to be done, with me and my team, and we set out to do this millennial video series, we knew what the purpose was and we knew the why. But as we began to search for an individual who looked like Lance, who you will meet a little bit later, we had difficulty finding that Lance. We had difficulty finding that success story. And we literally had a moment where we broke down and said that we raised our hands and we said yes to the call, such as you and you. We said yes to responsibility, that we will go, we will lead, we will take it, we will take the hits, but not really realizing how dire the situation really is. And I consider myself woke. I consider myself really aware of what's happening, but then not really understanding how bad it really was in our search for Lance and how important it was for us to be able to tell a Lance story. So as you go, how do you wrestle with that? How do you guys go into your meetings in your cabinet in the Roosevelt room and just begin to say, how much more can we do? What is next? Is it exhaustive? And where are areas for growth? Because things just keep popping up like Flint.
So it is exhausting at times, emotionally exhausting. I was born and raised in Baltimore. I thought I had escaped Baltimore. I used to say that, right? Real arrogant, right? I escaped from Baltimore, went off to college, went off to law school, and didn't go back. And I was in D.C., but I'd go see my family or go to a baseball game. But otherwise, it was like, oh, Baltimore. And I got that out of my life. And then I realized, as I got into this work, and especially after going back to Baltimore around the Freddie Gray tragedy and the eruption of emotions in Baltimore, it reminded me of where I came from. And of the values of the people, not just my parents, but the people who also helped raise me in Baltimore, and how a lot of times people don't hear about people who go through struggle in a place like Baltimore and come out and do well. So those stories don't get told, and so it's hard to repeat them. Success begets success, and so we have to keep telling stories about success so other young people have a lot of hope. But it can be hard. We were in Miami for an MBK event, and it was a full day of MBK activities. At the end of the day, we met with a group of 20 young men, ages 8 through 20. And they are growing up in Liberty City, and Liberty City is about as impoverished in this country as it gets economically, not in terms of values, but in terms of. And so we asked all these young men, boys and young men, how many of them knew someone who had died from gun violence, and we weren't shocked. Every hand went up. But there was one young man, he was probably 10, and he had on one of those T-shirts that has a picture of images of two people. It's an in memoriam T-shirt. And I asked him with hesitation who they were, and he said that one was his cousin and one was his neighbor. And they'd both been shot to death. And oftentimes what you get after that is, and so I don't expect to live to be 16, right? But that's not what this young man said, because he's in a program with mentors who care about him. He said, I'm going to go to FAMU one day, right? And every young man in the room talked about where they're going to go to college. So we talk about narrative. We talk about changing. This is not Pollyannish. We got a lot of work to do, and it's exhausting, but there's a lot of reason for hope.
Yes.
Speaking of hope, if I may just add in,
Please.
because I'm so proud of our team for coming up with this idea. Again, our SBA is the best assembled team we've ever seen at SBA, in my view. But, they came in and they said that so many young people want to start their first job. And if they've taken a left turn, instead of taking the right that they should have taken, they end up incarcerated. And once you've been incarcerated, when you get out and you're applying for a job, you have to, check that box that says, have you ever been in prison? Have you ever been a felon? And you have to check that box, and you know what's going to happen as soon as you check that box. And so we thought about that. We said, these are men and women who have served society by paying their dues, serving their time, and now they've come out and they need to feed their families and themselves, and the corporation's probably not going to hire them. Government may or may not hire them. And so we said, what can we do at the SBA? So we decided that for our applications for the low-end loans, the microloans, we would ban the box.
Yes.
And I'm really excited about this. So it's now not asked anymore, because we say it's time that we give them the opportunity. We believe in second chance. We give it to others who have committed white-collar crime. Why aren't we doing it for all of our community? And so we just said, that's it. We're
Yeah.
banning the box, and it's really changing the way people can access capital.
I'm glad you actually mentioned that, right? And just to kind of tie you two in to banning the box and access to capital, being in environments like Liberty City, and there's something about in that space and confinement that becomes your norm, and so you don't know anything else. So you kind of get caught up in that. And I don't want to go down the rabbit hole what the psychology means behind that, but being from Lansing, Michigan, from the automotive industry area, I had family in Goulds, right, not too far from Liberty City, and when we went for vacation, that was the first time I had ever heard a gunshot as a child, and it shook me, and that was so out of my comfort zone. So as we begin just to hear even more stories of gunshots and inflictions and impoverishment and cities going under, and we're banning the box, how can programs like SBA and how can programs like MBK, as we come together, when we meet those students, because now this involves the community of Harlem. This now involves a conversation for you guys to be included with us of New York City, of the 5 boroughs. How do we grab that young person? And then how do we guide them to a place where they can get to these type of programs that you are offering at the SBA? And then how do we access this cradle to careers of opportunities, which is the backbone of the NBK?
So let me say first, and picking up on what Maria mentioned in terms of banning a box, so the president has issued an order to all the agencies, all the cabinet agencies, to ban the box with regard to federal employment applications. So I applaud you for what you're doing around loans, but banning the box as well. And it builds on the same thing about second chances, and we know how important second chances are because none of us is perfect and we all make mistakes, and the president oftentimes speaks about that very personally himself when he meets with young people. One of the things that's very different about the approach with My Brother's Keeper is that that differs from other things is that it's very systematic. And so we know there are points in the life of every young person where intervention is critical. And it starts with cradle. And it starts with what happens in the first 3 years of life. And then what happens when a kid is in elementary school, right, in terms of expulsion and suspension. And then it goes, of course, to being ready for college and being ready for career. And then what happens when you get in trouble, right, in life, and you maybe spend some time incarcerated. What's the second chance that you get? And so we have to take that approach. But we also have to do it based on data that we know, evidence that we know makes a difference. And that is what is so different as well and helps to sustain this work.
I just wanted to add to what Mr. Johnson said is that when I've gone out in the community and connect with people, you see in some instances, in some communities where it's generational. And so I think it's really important, and at least particularly our young men, I was at Harris Stowe University as an example, and the young men said, I've just never had anybody that cared for me. But the fact that you would come from DC, and I explained to them, I'm an immigrant, like, you know, don't put me on that pedestal. But it was very touching and obviously disturbing for me to have them say, I've never had anybody that cared for me. And if I just knew that I was valued by somebody, it would build my self-esteem, and then I could conquer anything. And so sometimes it's just the will. Yes, we have resources, and I've mentioned what they are, but it's also an emotional connection. So I want to tell you that is why we feel that the programs that we're doing here with this program to showcase Ty Hunter, to showcase Mike Muse, so that people see that you care for them and that you understand them and that we understand them, and that in a connected way, we're reaching out to them and asking them to join us and be a part of our family. That's what this is about, is to say to people, you matter.
Yes.
You matter. 80 million millennials matter in our country. If you had them unemployed, you know, at a certain point, there's only so much you can carry in when you get into the program, Social Security and everything else that has to happen. So it's important for our country. It's important for our communities. I mean, this is how despotism begins. If you don't address the populations that feel that they are being disenfranchised. So it's a very, very compelling to me, the value that I have that you're all joining us and that you're helping to tell your stories so that people feel that there is a path forward for them. This is why we're here today. So I want to thank you and all of the fine people that you've brought into this program. We salute you today. You are phenomenal. Thank you so much.
But before you guys leave the stage, Mr. Secretary, if you could help me answer the most frequently asked question that I get going to the bodega, going to my coffee shop as I travel on the airplane. Just, how can I help? How can I get involved with My Brother's Keeper? What can I do?
Well,
Please answer that.
That's a great question, right? First, you mentioned caring adults, right? And mentoring is very, very fundamental to what My Brother's Keeper is all about. The president has emphasized this over and over again. So, along with the, I don't know how many people saw the Steph Curry video, right? So, Steph Curry's video with the president, it was actually fun to watch the two of them prepare to do that too, right? The volcano and all that stuff, they had a great time. But 4 million people saw that video on Facebook and after the first time it was showed in the first couple of days. And the impact that has had on mentorship registrations across the country has been profound. So I would urge all of you, you can go to the White House website and you can get a link to to the Mentor Inc. NBA in real life campaign. That's one thing. Second, for those of you who are small business owners, take a young person under your wings, make that person an apprentice in your organization, teach them about what it is to run a business, give someone a second chance who's been in trouble. There are things that you can do there as well. And otherwise, I think it's just spread the word with people you know about the fact that My Brother's Keeper is not going away. We have 260 days left, I think, in this administration.
He's counting them.
We're not counting the days, we're making the days count.
There you go. I like that. I like that.
But as the president has said, and as you all know, and as more and more communities, there are 250 My Brother's Keeper communities across the country. This work will be sustained post-presidency. The president has made clear this is life work for him. It's life work for all of us, but to have the tremendous power of this president, post-presidency, working on these issues, will give all of us reason to continue to be involved for decades to come.
Yeah. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for our cabinet secretaries.
Thank you.
I don't think you guys realize how special it is to have two presidential cabinet secretaries on 125th Street at the Apollo. Thank you so much for this. And don't move. We're still going to be here for our second round of our panelist discussions. Right, Mr. Upperman?
Absolutely.
All right.
And please, we're going to have a 5-minute intermission. Please, we're just going to have a 5-minute intermission, and we'll get started in about 7 minutes. Thank you.
as you guys take your seats, I'm just gonna do some entertaining. I'm gonna crack some jokes.
I like.
I've always wanted to do amateur night at the Apollo. I'm mad that the wood trunk isn't here, right? I wanted to like to rub on that. That sounded crazy.
I love
Kelly.
that.
All right, we can settle in. Everybody having a good day? Everybody enjoy that conversation we had? Yes, clap it up, clap it up. That was powerful. 2 cabinet secretaries? My God. I'm thankful I can relax now. I wasn't really nervous about actually doing this. Like, as those who know me, I have some friends in the audience. I'm not shy to talk and to speak. But I was most nervous about is getting their titles right. Right? Like, that's what I was nervous about. So I thank God I grew up at Pilgrim Rest Baptist Church, where on Pastor's Annual Day, we had to give honor to God and to the entire dais, right? To the reverend, to the bishop, to the good doctor. Preceded therefore there by the good trustees, preceded therefore by the good deacons, preceded by the good mothers board, and preceded by the good president of the ushers board. Amen. And if I miss anybody, charge it in my head and not my heart. Man, I was so stressed. I'm like, we had a Mr. Secretary, then we had a Madam Administrator who's a secretary, but do I say secretary? And then Congressman Rango just threw me all the way off. Now I'm like, do I say honorable? In my mind, I always call him Charlie, and I think that's disrespectful on the stage to call him Charlie. So I didn't know what to do. I was nervous. Well, I think we're ready, so Chris wants me to stop talking. Y'all want me to stop talking? No, I don't want to stop talking either. Chris a hater.
Not a hater at all. Not a hater at all. No. So I'll take a point of privilege. I want to invite the SBA administrator back to the stage. This is a wonderful leader, as you all have just been able to witness and see, and her passion and efforts on behalf of all of you all in this audience. We're just really, really pleased. And I want to invite her back up to the stage. We have some great things that we want to do. This is a little off the schedule, but I want to go ahead and do this.
Sorry, Mike. This is National Small Business Week, so it's a particular week when we really promote and honor all the mom and pops across the country that really work hard each and every day to create something special in a community. I mean, I don't travel to the other side of the country to go to a Costco, you know. I go because I want to go to get Chicago's popcorn, you know, at Garrett's, or it's always a small business that attracts me. And so I'm traveling today to 8 cities in about 5 days. So we're working really hard. So we're heading out right this minute to head out to Denver, and then Phoenix, and then Oakland, and San Francisco, and we end up in Los Angeles. We've been already. Anyway, so I apologize that I can't stay as long as I want, but I wanted you to know that this is personal for me. I mentioned that I was born in Guadalajara, Jalisco, Mexico.
Come on, Spanish.
And I mentioned my grandmother, and she was a tough migrant worker, and she always said that if I worked hard and brought others along, that someday I might be able to work in an office and be a secretary. And so the good Lord heard her and allowed me to hold office and to be a cabinet secretary.
All right now.
It's really beautiful. Thank you.
That's all right. That's all right.
But that's the power of entrepreneurship. And so we love that Mike and his team have joined us. And so I wanted to hear them and then sign and then present these. And so now I'm going to take it out of order. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
But with the power bestowed upon me by the President of the United States as the administrator, the head of the U.S. Small Business Administration, I did not bring the frames because they didn't fit in my bag, but I brought beautiful resolutions to give them today. And so the first one goes to Carl Jones Scropeshire. Did I say that right?
Shropshire.
And again, for his extraordinary work on SBA's behalf, leading the MBK Biz My Way Millennial Entrepreneurs, or the video series that you helped us to present. Congratulations.
Caro.
Congratulations. Thank you so much for all you're doing. Thank you. We love you. Did you get that shot? Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you. All right. Now we have Mike Muse's team members, Naledi, Andrea, Carl, and Raval, for their exceptional work amplifying the message of inclusion and increasing access to opportunities for young people, especially young people of color, through our work.
And Mr. President, we have a couple more from our team. We have Sybil, we have Yvonne, we have Adam. If you can come up to the stage too as well. Dre couldn't join us. Ebony couldn't join us. The lady, am I missing anybody? And Kwaku, Team Moody, Sybil, and Kwaku, hurry up and get the picture. Hold on, Madam Administrator, hold on. We have 2 important team members. Yvonne, is she up here yet? Yvonne's so short, I can't see her. Yvonne, you there? She left. Amen. 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 We're going to crop her in. We're going to crop her in.
We're going to redo this so everybody's name is on it. Here we go. Thank you. Thank you. Want to take that? All right, thank you. And then finally, the one and only, the big finale. I can't tell you enough about this fine gentleman. You feel his energy. You feel his heart, his passion. He is in it with his heart, body, soul, everything. Ladies and gentlemen, please honor a dear friend of the SBA and this great country of ours. Please bring up my very special friend, Mike Muse, in recognition of his generous contributions for inspiring the spirit of entrepreneurship in this great nation. Congratulations. We love you.
Thank you so much, Madam Administrator.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I mean, talk about a surprise. I was not expecting that at all. So this is a night of surprises. I don't know what else is next. I was definitely just honored and thankful. Chris, you got to turn your mic up. Thank you. I was just honored and thankful that just to see my team get honored, because although I'm up here and I've done a lot of the talking, like this literally could not be done. The work that we're doing, Andrea and I, we had this saying that we say, why just shoot for the moon? She always says to me, Mike, what about going to Mars? What about going to Pluto? And we literally try and get to Mars and Pluto because the moon just isn't enough. And as we began to lay out this program, I'm going to be completely honest. We have laid out a very advantageous, bold, never been done program ever to scale the heights we're scaling with the Academy, the Oscars. Our little team partnered with the Oscars. Our little team of not being bold-faced names, we're not on the cover of GQ, we're not, we're not on national television on a daily basis. We were able to secure the Oscars. Our little team that we're not bold-faced names, but we were able to bring USC's Cinematic School of the Arts to the table and to partner with us and to create a 6-week film intensive for free. So when those boys came to our summit in LA at the Academy, they can touch it. They can see it. They know that it's real. Do you know how hard that is to get the #1 film school in the world to agree to 6 weeks for free? When I don't have a name, I'm on the cover of any magazine, but get them to say yes. And then they have our music summit coming up in June at the Grammy Foundation to partner with our little team, our little engine that could, because this team works tirelessly. I mean, we get told no a lot. Constantly get told no a lot. And then we constantly get told, well, what about girls? Well, we'll give you money if you include everybody. But we stay strong and we say, we'll pass, because this matters. So if we have to work another 4 hours, another 8 hours, they have real jobs, people. They actually have real jobs. But yet they dedicate their personal time, late nights, to saying yes to young men of color, and saying yes to me, and saying yes to this initiative when it is so not easy. And Carl, the only reason why we're here is because of Carl. Literally, this man is a one-camera operation. One camera. All those videos you saw, that was one camera. Yes. One camera. Do you know how physical that is for one person to have one camera and to shoot as if he had 3? to do quality editing as if he had a full editing team to make all these gentlemen look good. 4 o'clock in the morning, 5 in the morning, Carl, we need another edit. Carl, the White House legal, we need this. Carl, we can't say that. Carl, can you edit? Carl, can you do? And Carl, the lady contested this, has never said no. Never. Please give it up for Carl. So enough of me being all emotional and passionate. I mean, when you have a team that rides with you, you just got to say thank you. You just got to acknowledge them. You just give them their due props. So I'm so glad they have the opportunity to stand here before you, and you guys now when you see the hashtag Team MBK Champ, you know exactly who's working tirelessly for these young men of color. So, I mean, and with that, I mean, we just have an incredible panelist of individuals who are clearly the king of Zamunda. And I mean, the night just gets better with royalty and congressmen and Nigerian princesses. I mean, I didn't know, coming to America. That's amazing. that are here today. And before, I mean, you guys have seen the videos, you guys know the bios, you guys, I'm sure, are following all of them on Instagram. I think combined, there's like 15 million followers on here, so it's insane the impact they're having. But I was really excited to speak with you gentlemen today and this evening here because I just came back from a trip to Denver. So for the few followers I have, you may have saw my post. And I was out there to do an MBK Summit. And I was going to do a keynote, and they had me book me to do a workshop. So the workshop, I'm talking about entrepreneurship, how can young men do entrepreneurship, et cetera. And there was this one young man, and it was a large room, right? I'm talking in front of a large room, full of kids, community partners, leaders, politicals, media, really important to say that, media, was there. And this young man, he says to me, so we're doing Q&A, he was like, man, you know what, Mike? I'm like, what? He says, you remind me of Carlton. Everybody laughed like that too, right? I laughed too for a minute. I'm like, wait a minute. I was like, Carlton for the Fresh Prince? He was like, yeah, Carlton. I was like, oh man, you know, they're young. They're like, oh, he got you, oh, Carlton. They're like, do the dance, do the dance. I'm like, what? So then I'm like, bruh. I was like, careful what you say because, you know, my clap back is strong, you know? You know, my meme game is strong on Instagram. And I will drag you. And I did say it to a 14-year-old boy. I did say that. I feel some kind of way, but I did say that. So then I'm like, okay, so seriously, why did you call me Carlton? And he was basically like, you know. You know what I mean? But I was like, no, tell me why. And then I was like, I feel like we're about to have a moment. And so I quieted the room down. And I made everybody pay attention. And I said, listen, all jokes aside, I won't be mad. I won't be angry. Just tell me, why did you call me Carlton? And he got really nervous because I went into the aisle and then I went to his row. And I made him look at me in the eye. And I said, why did you call me Carlton? And he couldn't say anything. He put his head down. All that vibrato, all that grown man went away. And he became a child to what he is. And I said, why did you call me Carlton? His friend next to him, Michael W., he said, because you're bougie and educated. And it hit me, right? And I said, listen, I know what you're saying. I'm going to take it for good. I'm not mad. But tell me, what does bougie and educated mean? He said, I don't know. I can't explain. Just bougie and educated. And I was like, well, is that a good thing or is that a bad thing? And he says, it's a good thing. And I said, why? And he said, we don't see people who look like you in our neighborhood. You're different. So it allowed me to have this incredible moment of redefining what it means to be Carlton, really redefining what it means to be bougie and what it means to be educated, because he wasn't doing it as a diss, as I learned in that moment, which I've always took it to be. These children just they're unable to articulate what they're really trying to say. So it comes off as this diss. And so we as our professional class, We say, oh, because I'm reading, they want to call me bougie, and, I can't read. But they're not really saying that. So we have to be careful in really how we really think that through. And is it really so much them calling us bougie and Oreo and Uncle Tom because we're reading, or is it that they don't see nobody like us? They don't know how to describe it. So this is how we're describing it. So as we begin to, take these insults and get mad and go on social media and write op-eds about, we need to read more and be comfortable and reading is cool, we need to really understand what these children are really just trying to communicate to us, that they just don't see nobody like us. Which is why I'm so glad that these gentlemen are here, because as I told him, I am not the exception. I am the norm. And it's important that we expose our young men of color to the norm. To the norm. So these gentlemen are the norm. So please give it up for the norm. The first norm that we have is Mr. Reggie Miller of Ice Media. Give it up for Reggie Miller. The second norm we have is Mr. Ty Hunter. Ty Light, follow the dot. The next norm we have is Mr. Lance Rios. The next norm we have is Hollywood Hino. And then the next norm we have is Chef Max. Gentlemen, thank you for joining me today and being here. And we're going to do a Q&A with the audience. So now this is the interactive part. So this is a time where you can get your questions, think about it. I want you to be engaged. I want this to be a two-way conversation. I can't talk all night. So I need y'all to kind of help a brother out a little bit. So please, let's make it fun. Let's make it interactive. And if I haven't caught on you yet, just raise your hand. Like, yo, Mike. Just be respectful, but just like, yo, Mike. You know what I mean? Be respectful, but just say, yo, Mike. And be that. Listen, this is an open question. Like, what does that mean to you when they say, we're not the norm, that we're the exception? Like, what do you guys just take from that? Like, whoever wants to go first what does that say to you about being the exception and not the norm, but really repositioning and reframing and redefining that we are the norm and not the exception? What does that mean?
I guess it goes back to like when we talked during the video, and they don't get to see it every day. So as a chef, growing up in the inner cities of Detroit, I didn't see chefs growing up. So all I just saw like the cool guys that, maybe be a barber, maybe be a lawyer, or you're supposed to go be a doctor or a teacher. But wanting to be a chef wasn't the norm. So I wanted to kind of figure out what that normal was, and then set the bar of that, within just what I do as a chef. So that's kind of how I feel.
But Lance, what does that say to you though? Like, you in particular, you and I have had some amazing conversations when we talked on set, just about our path of even getting to you. As you go out and do digital influencing within Latino space and the Hispanic market, as you begin to uncover people who aren't the exception, but who are the norm. Whose responsibility is it for us to get our young men of color to recognize more norms out there? Whose responsibility is it?
This one? All right. Well, I think a lot of it is like, people fear what they don't know, and kids make fun of things they don't know because that's their way of sort of expressing that fear. And I think that it's definitely up to us to be able to lead in any capacity when it comes back to the community, because without us being recognized as figures of something that is actually attainable, something that is realistic for young people of color, it's hard to imagine that, and there's this stigma, I think, across, multicultural communities, Latinos definitely, from my perspective, where it's like, oh, you're acting white, right? And like that white aspect of it has so much tied to it, of things that people really aspire to be, right? White means that you are educated, that you speak, you speak differently from a lot of other people in the communities that they're used to, that you have access to money, right? You have a nice car, you have nice clothes, you have nice whatever. And I think that being able to go back to those communities and kind of show these kids that it is attainable is super important, because I'm sure that we've all experienced a very similar situation where it's like, coming up and doing whatever we're doing, it's not easy. It's very hard. But to a certain extent, we've all sort of reached a certain platform because we believe that it was attainable at some end. So I think that us simply having a presence and really making a goal and an effort to speak to people of color, to young people of color, it really makes a huge difference.
Well, in some regards, Ty, as much as I say we're not, the exception, but we're the norm, I look at you and I actually say that you might be the exception. Maybe for reasons that people may not know where I'm going with that. Just the fact of, as our culture, we are a jazzy people. We are colorful.
Definitely.
We are the flyest in the room. We set the trends. Whatever we start wearing becomes a thing a year, 2 years out. We spend our money on clothes and shoes. We line up to get the new Jordans. Like, fashion is our thing, but we consume it. That's all we do. We consume it. We don't see people. I didn't see, look, I traveled around the world before I came to New York. I'm highly educated, worldly, well-read. I didn't meet anybody like you until I came to New York who was doing styling. Well, I didn't know what that was. But then after a while, I didn't meet any black people who were stylists. And then for sure, I didn't meet any black men that were stylists. So in that area, you are the exception. So like, how do we, Ty, begin to make that shift so that people like you do become that norm, and that we are able to educate our young men of color to say, you don't have to buy the Jordan, but you can create your own shoe line. You can own the company. It doesn't have to be just public school out there with a fashion line, but it could be yourname.com. How do we do that?
I think it's important. Like, even with me, I always been into fashion and I always wanted to do it, but I felt like I didn't want that stamp of being, they put you in this.
Uh-oh. Careful.
It's remixed.
They don't want you to be great, Ty.
Yeah, but
They don't want you to be. Come on, Apollo. Let Ty be great.
come on,
man.
tighten me up
Tighten
over
him
here.
up, bro. Ty, lean back. Get comfortable. Get
I'm
comfortable.
fine.
Okay. Oh.
See, mine is raggedy. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that even me, like, I wanted to do fashion, but at the same time, growing up, you didn't want to be labeled gay. You didn't want to be labeled, it was just hard because you just didn't want to be put in a box. Mm-hmm. And so I went to school for music video with my cousin, and you asked me to do something now, I wouldn't know what to do. But I wanted to do fashion, so it's just, you have to just believe in yourself and forget what everybody else has to say about you and just live your dream and your passion. And I never thought I'd be doing what I'm doing, but when you finally really believe who you are and not care what anybody else has to say, that's when things start happening for you.
Yes. Amen. Reggie, I'm gonna put a little pressure on you, right? As we began to talk about whose responsibility is it, right? Whose fault is it? Right? How do we transition that narrative? You come from this amazing background of publishing, narrative, ad sales, advertising, magazines, to owning your own digital media company, Ice Media. Is it the responsibility of people like you to help transition that from exception to norm? Is there blame to be placed on that? Should individuals like you and your companies do more to spread it? Because we're all on digital now. We're all on these different social media platforms. Like, that's the new age. Is your colleagues, should they be doing more to kind of help emphasize this narrative, to showcase and expose individuals like this?
Well, I don't know about my colleagues, but I would definitely personally feel like I definitely have that responsibility. Any chance I get to talk to anyone about starting a business, it's important for me to, first thing is I always say, don't let people get in your head, because someone's always going to your point, try to say, you shouldn't do that, you couldn't do that, you can't do that, Even when I started my business, I heard from everybody, including my mother, is like giving me statistics on how businesses that go out of business, and I'm like, I'm not trying to hear that. Yeah. So I think it's important to, if someone has that belief, that to support that and not let people talk you out of that, because people that you look up to, they could be guidance counselors, whoever. Yeah. Like, people are quick to try to talk someone out of an idea. Literally,
and talk you down, which leads me to my first video clip. So we can roll the first video clip of Hollywood Hino, please. Princess Amunda.
You're looking at a man that's failed 96% of the time. Yeah. But that 4%, baby, it's a beautiful thing.
That's when you win.
You're looking at the 4%.
That's when you win.
I used it, man, and it opened a lot of doors,
Nice. When we were talking, you were talking about the 96% of the time that you failed,
Yeah.
to which Reggie was talking about, in terms of people will talk you out of it because there is such a high failure rate. So you talked
Big
about
time.
that. But
Big time.
and you really own that. You actually owned your failures.
Yeah.
And you said, but you're looking at this 4%.
4%. That's what you're looking at.
Yeah,
I
literally.
made something out of it. You know, like I was born and raised in West Africa, Nigeria. I came here, you know, kids tease you and everything. You know, you have an accent, don't speak English that good. So it was like, I had to go through the transition of like starting all over again. Like a kid just brought here, like I had to soak it all in. I had to learn everything from scratch, from what I'm used to out there. So, you know, that was already a huge task on its own, you know, to belong, to make people like you, you know, and go through junior high school and high school and trying to find your place, you know. And I find my comfortability through playing sports and just being good at it and just dedicating myself to like finding your own, you know. We're all on this stage for one reason. We find our passion and we turn it into an income, you know.
But how though, Hino? Because, you know, a lot of people out there are probably interested in starting their own companies, who have thought about it, who have yet to get off the couch with their ideas because that 96% is so strong.
Yeah.
How
strong.
did, in that moment though, of failure consistently, how do you, what is that transition phase, that gap to 4%? Like, walk us through and how you
I feel like
push through to get to that 4%.
What it does, it just makes you stronger. Like what doesn't kill you, you know. It makes you stronger. Like you fall and you fall, but you learn to not make the same mistake again. I think a lot of people give up after the first failure into trying to chase a dream of their own, you know. And then they go back to working 9 to 5 or whatever. They like, maybe it's not for me.
Yeah.
You know, and we all here, we have to battle with that, like with our parents, with our family. Your mom is like, go to school for medicine every day in your ear, you know, and you're living in her house and you have to still chase the dream, you know, so you fight this demon because you have to obey your parents.
You do.
But your parents are so ancient in their thinking, you know, that they don't think, oh, being a personal trainer will make a exceptional living or which is a struggle till today, still up and down.
Yeah.
Everybody here knows that, you know. But I'd rather work, you know, 1,000 hours a week than work 9 to 5 for somebody else.
But you know, you mentioned something interesting, and so Chef, I want you to kind of come into play with this because, you know, knowing your story, you know, boxer, that was your dream, that was your hope.
Definitely.
You and Chef share a commonality of sports. Right? Like Chef Max, you wanted to be a basketball player. That's what you're interested in. But talk to this audience, though, and talk to me more so as well, in terms of the moment you pivot, right? Like we keep getting stuck in this rut, right? We keep working this, whatever job that we have, right? And we keep having this idea, and sometimes we get stuck. We keep hitting the wall, and because of pride, humility, family, others, etc., we don't want to pivot. We're embarrassed. We don't want to look at that we failed. Tell us about the moment, though. Tell us about your pivot moment. When you pivoted from saying, you know what, this basketball thing ain't for me. I want to be a chef. What was that pivot moment like?
Well, it goes back to like just being a kid, not seeing that. And then you get to that point where like, man, basketball is the key. I want to play basketball, but then you realize it's not going to be it. But you can't just stick in that rut. You got to continue to say, well, man, how can I turn this true passion to something that I really want to do? So I turned into, man, I'm going to cook for Michael Jordan one day. You know, maybe I can't make it to the NBA, but I still can live a lifestyle as if I was an NBA player. How can I do that? Can I cook for the top basketball players? Absolutely. Then that gives me, you know, the opportunity to travel and do all the same things that they would do if I was in the NBA. So I think it's one of those things where you just have to figure out that passion, figure out how you can use it and merge the two loves together. So I think
that's interesting. You mentioned like some big celebrities. You mentioned like, you know, Michael Jordan. We know you do Amir Stoudemire. Like we're all aware that you are the personal chef for a lot of the Middle East royalty. So a lot of big, bold-faced names. And so I think now it's appropriate that we actually cue up the next video of Ty Hunter as Chef Max has led us, I believe, and naturally into this next conversation. So let's run a tape of Chef Max.
Eventually, the headline would say Ty Hunter on something, but I'm okay, you know? I mean,
It was Michael Jackson's little sister for a long time, and then now it's Janet. They don't even say Michael. You know what I mean? It's just certain things. Right now, Michael Jackson's little sister.
That's the best piece of advice. I wasn't expecting that at all. That's really amazing.
Wow, that's good.
Yeah,
That's
right?
good.
Ty, that was something I really noticed about you right out the gate when you said that, because, again, I don't get nervous at all. I get nervous when it comes to technicalities, right? So I was nervous to talk about the titles of the administrator and other cabinet secretary. And for you, I worked really hard, actually, Ty. To be honest with you, I worked extremely hard not to say Beyonce. I really did, because I wanted you to come in on your own merit. I knew you were working on some amazing adventures, and I wanted you to come in as that, as just Ty Hunter. And I did not want to bring up Beyonce at all. Love you, B. Beehive, what's up? Shout out. Don't drag me. No lemons. Love you, Beehive. Love you. But I wanted you to be able to stand on your own, and I was really big on that. But it's interesting, Ty, as we began to go, you kept bringing her name up. I'm like, why is he bringing her name up? I was like, he is messing me up. Yeah. And finally, you said that statement, and I swear to God, I had a moment, and I was like, that's it. That's the ultimate act of humility. That's the ultimate act of submitting and to learn. Talk to us about your process of how you go about that. Because that's entrepreneurship. That's the most successful ones who do that.
Definitely. I had to explain to him, you guys, I wasn't like Beyonce.
I'm sorry, no, I'm sorry. He wasn't. He said it like one time. No. And so just the invocation.
But I was explaining to him, like, I'm working on other projects, and everything I do outside of this styling the queen, that I'm stamped Beyonce stylist. So even if my clothing line, Beyonce stylist came out with a clothing line. My phone case, Beyonce stylist came out with a phone case. My emojis, anything I do is Beyonce stylist. So I had to accept that and not run from it, because that is the if I was not her stylist, I can't run from that. That's who I am. You know what I mean? And I find a lot of times people end up falling because it's like, I'm not just a basketball wife, or I'm just not, his sister. I am doing this or whatever. But you were able to get these eyes on you from that. And you have to accept that. And the key is, and that's why I say, when Janet Jackson came out, it was like Michael Jackson's little sister single, Michael Jackson little sister that, Michael Jackson little sister that, and Ty Hunter had to work hard to build that up. So this Beyonce stylist will eventually, the title would be Ty Hunter came out with his phone case, and Ty Hunter did this and that. And I'm not ashamed of that. I'm around greatness. She's a wonderful talent, and I've learned so much from her. And so it's not like I'm being, tagged with something not great. That's great. So that shows me that I can be higher. Mm-hmm. And so that's another thing. You have to accept who you are. Don't run from who you are, especially if it's not a bad thing. And that helps lead you to more positive things on your own.
Amen. Amen. But Ty, with that, let's do a deep dive though, because as I pressed with Chef down here about that pivot moment, what was that pivot moment when you went from basketball player to chef? And that's the hardest part about being an entrepreneur. How do you pivot from your 9 to 5? How do you pivot from, I did have a floral shop, I don't think it's me anymore, it's not open a barber shop, or it's not me anymore, now I need to do a clothing line, that's not me anymore, now I want to build a car, that's not me anymore. How do you pivot? Because, like you said, that stamp of stylist, but you have your emoji, you have your tie light, you have all these incredible things. Like, walk us through that moment where you said, I need to pivot. Right?
I just
that's
think
what people
the
need to
whole
hear.
point of being uncomfortable and transitioning, like when you're uncomfortable, it's time for change. Mm-hmm. And, it's just not good to put all your eggs in one basket anyway, because anything could happen. Mm-hmm. When you living someone else's life, you're living your dream, but also you living someone else's dream, and you don't have anything else to fall on. Anytime this person can say, I'm done. Mm-hmm. So are you done when they're done? Mm. So it's important to have something to say that's yours and claim your own. And that's kind of how starting my company and everything started happening from that.
Well, with that, what's yours, what's your own, and claiming and owning it, Reggie, let's just talk, right? Like, you now own, Ice Media, and you make it look so easy, and you make it look so effortless, and you were really first in and turned that system into that in that era. But you were once with Vibe Magazine at the time when Vibe Magazine was everything. It was epic. Like, it was just the cultural indicator of all cultural indicators. And you jumped out the window and said, I'm out, I'm leaving, I'm gonna do digital. The world wasn't even comfortable with the internet yet. And you're just like, I'm doing digital. Like, what is that? Like, how did you jump out the window like that? These entrepreneurs, I'm sure some of us in here are working like 9 to 5, and they want to jump, but they don't know to jump because the job is so good. The bonuses in the year is so good. If I get one more, okay, I'm gonna leave after this bonus. As soon as I get my bonus, I'm out. But then they see the amount of the bonus, it's like, well, maybe one more year, right? But when the getting is good, how did you leave? How did you untether yourself from that?
Well, the getting was definitely getting good because before I left, 9 months before I left, I actually I didn't want to be there anymore. I probably a year before then, I was married at that time, and I told my wife, I was like, look, I'm going to start this agency. I'm not, and also I just to let you guys know, I handled my own P&L at that time. So I put myself in 100% raise.
Wow.
Thinking they're never going to approve that. They approved that.
Wow.
And then,
Wow,
but I
right?
still left.
It's a
That's
boss.
the thing. So 9 months later, I still left because the check looked real good for a minute. Then it was like, I still felt the same. So I still had that passion that I wanted to start my own business. And at that time, the internet just seemed, it was like, the Wild Wild West. It felt right for me. There was definitely a void with digital as far as advertising on the web. Mm-hmm. But you're right, I definitely heard a lot of people try to talk you out of, talk me out of even when I started the business, trying to meet with advertisers who actually literally said to me, do you think the internet's going to be around?
Yeah.
And I'm like, where's it gonna go? Like, it's the most ridiculous. I used to hear the craziest things, but anyhow, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you guys are like amazing panelists because you guys just set me up for all my segues. So thank you, Reggie, because next, Lance, I'm coming to you. You talked about P&L, Reggie, which is really fascinating in terms of you giving yourself 100% raise in capital. That's kind of a cue to the audio team. I would like for you to cue up Lance's video because we're going to go into an area now of P&L, of money and revenue and profit and getting started. So please roll Lance's Rio's clip for us.
We're not necessarily coming from those really connected circles of money, so I think that, for us, it's just about being really educated about it and providing outlets that makes it easier for us as minorities to access that information so that we can feel a little more confident in the pursuit of these types of opportunities.
Is that good? So Lance, so we've heard about the failure and the 4%, and we've heard about the pivoting moments, and we heard about when to leave, and we've witnessed humility, But at the end of the day, all that don't start a business, right? We need money, we need capital. That's one of the reasons why a lot of us, young men and people of color, don't start businesses, is access to capital isn't there. You talked about that in that clip. Can you talk a little bit more about why you feel that and actually why you said that and the challenges that we face as this particular?
Yeah, I didn't start this business. I didn't start it as a business. I started a Facebook page, and eventually that flourished into a business. It's a really long story, so I won't get into it. But since I didn't start the business as a business, I wasn't necessarily planning for all the things that came with the business. And as a result, luckily for this sake that, we were able to evolve as a bootstrap company, no funding. I was just funding the company myself. Whenever I had extra money, I would throw it in there, buy a computer or buy this or buy that. But now at this stage, after 3 years of doing this full time is when I'm seeing now, I'm like, all right, you see scale, and then you see scale get to a certain point where you're like, all right, if I really want to scale, I need access to larger funds, And it becomes very interesting for me because I wasn't going after venture capitalists before. I didn't know how to do a valuation for my company. I didn't know a lot of other resources that were available because I simply didn't need it, you know? And at that point of, you know, your company sort of going from like one stratosphere to the next stratosphere from a revenue perspective, like you have to keep up, you know? And that's the point that, you know, from my perspective, like you do realize that as a person of a culture or color, you're not having the same opportunities that you're seeing a lot of these other guys having. And in my pursuit of going after and figuring out, you know, who's spending money in this space, who's investing, you're seeing a lot of guys who have companies that aren't profitable, who are very young and have an idea, get access to $5 million in capital. When your company generates significant revenue, is profitable, has showcased that it's a company that can grow, just give me some money. And I'm not having those same opportunities. And I don't want to use this as an opportunity to be like, I'm pissed off at the world or it's not for us. But at the end of the day, there are a lot of things that just don't set us up for success. And I think that, you know, initiatives like this do bring this to fruition, you know, stating the fact that we do have very capable, smart human beings who are running businesses. But at the end of the day, we do need funding and we do need access to capital because just like everyone else, we bring great ideas to the table. And a lot of times those great ideas could be the next big thing. So that's, I think, something that we're probably all working towards. And, you know, capital help makes that happen.
Even the yes. Mike, can I jump in?
Yes.
Even with my business, I didn't start out like I started out, you know, on my own with my business. But, you know, sometimes access to capital is important because I know, you know, after 9/11, because my business was located on Wall Street, advertising stopped because nobody wanted to advertise with that type of sentiment out there. But I still had payroll and rent and things of that nature. And the SBA actually saved my business then. In 2002 actually is when I got the loan, because at that time I didn't qualify for the traditional banks and things of that nature, and you know, and my business was still very small. You know, I'm talking less than 500,000 in revenue then, you know, and now we're like 10 million in revenue now a year. But you know, but I wouldn't have made it to that. Like if I didn't get that loan, it wouldn't have happened. You know?
I mean, what's interesting that we're talking about that because I actually want to contextualize this story even further. And Lance, you don't know this, but I literally talk about you in every city that I go to really underscore the work that we're doing because as the lady, our chief of staff, she can relate to this. When we put a call out, you know, to find specifically young men of color who are entrepreneurs in the areas of lifestyle, music, sports, film, fashion, and technology, all the spaces we consume and don't produce or own a thing in. I'm gonna go further, be really honest with you. We have a very narrow, and some may be opposed to this, I'm sure we can talk back with the audience at the end of this, but we have a very narrow definition of how we're defining entrepreneurship. We defined it as an individual who has jumped out the window or the plane and has built a parachute as they're going down. They don't have a direct deposit coming in every 2 weeks. They don't have that bonus coming in. It's not a side hustle. We're good for side hustles. This isn't a little thing that we're trying to come up with some money so we're a little entrepreneur. No, this is, I don't know how I'm gonna pay rent. This is what we have here. I don't know how I'm gonna eat. If I don't work, if I don't do what I need to do, if I don't take that meeting, if I don't get that contract, I'm not paying rent. And I'm gonna have to go back to get that direct deposit. That's how we narrowly define this. Don't judge us, but that's how we did it here. With Lance, we did three months of calls to action, and Carl can attest to this, just scouring the country. Who fits this? Who male, young men of color, who fits this definition as millennial? Could not find. Women, we could have done 10 per day. I'm gonna let that sit. All the time. Hey, Mike, I got this woman, she's amazing. Hey, Mike, I got this woman, she's amazing. Hey, Mike, I got this woman, she's amazing. I'm not gonna go further. I'm just gonna let that sit. You think about the nuance of that. When it came to Lance particular, I had influencers, business people, entrepreneurs from Miami, LA, and New York. Help me find a Latino male, please. We're running up against a deadline. Madam Administrator, she needs that clearance of these videos. We're running up against a deadline. I found him, finally. But he had sent three Latinos. Only one narrowly fit that definition. I found him, and Lance can attest to this, at 10 p.m. at night before our final shoot day. I didn't even know this man. We got him on the phone. I'm like, yo, you don't know me. I need you. Please say yes to this video shoot. He was very confused. He was not really feeling me. Who was this man calling me at like 10, 11 saying, please, 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 please. I'm not a crazy person. Please Google me. Like, I'm legit. We just really need you. But with that being said, and I talked to Lance on set. I was like, man, Lance, this really bothered our team. Like, can you help us connect with more people who look like you so we can have a round table so we can bring them into our fold? And Lance, you said, I probably know maybe one or two. That's how real it is. That's what's at stake with this capital. I believe Upperman is trying to interrupt to do something. Upperman.
Yes. I just wanted the administrator right here. We just wanted to, right before she leaves, she just wanted to
of course.
just say one last thing.
With all of you.
Come on up.
I thought it'd be so fun to do that picture. Could I just do that?
Come on up. How you want to do it? You want us to stand up?
How do I tweet it or Facebook it or Instagram it? This is going to be the best Instagram shot around. Tweet this shot.
Don't move, everybody. You still have more to go.
See, the SBA is trying to be fresh. You guys see it? You see? And just in one moment, we're going to finish this, and then we're going to start to open it up for some questions from the audience.
Thank you, Madam Administrator. We know she is busy doing the good work around the country, so we thank you for your time and for being here and for showing up. As we begin to settle down, so Lance, that's where we are with that, in terms of where we are in our country, and that's how real it is in terms of the access that Reggie and Lance that you talked about. So, with that even further, so now we're basically building a puzzle. I'm really putting a puzzle together here, right? If you can follow me. So we failed, we win, we pivot, we're at a brand, we have humility, we need access to capital. Okay, boom, so now we're starting, right? So now we did all that, so now we have our company. Reggie, you're next up. I want this video to play, and I want you just to talk to a few things. So if you can please roll Reggie Miller's tape.
Working hard and continuing to prove people wrong shows value. You're always going to think you're valuable. It takes time for other people to see that value, and then that has everything to do with not giving up on yourself.
So, that's the most important thing, right? Like, give it up, yes. Reggie, as we all begin to start, and a lot of us, if you look, lead really non-traditional lives. We have non-traditional careers in terms of even in our own companies are very non-traditional. We are in a society, especially millennials, where we're like a slash generation. I sit at the intersection, right? And everyone is social entrepreneurship. So it's this combination of things of this hybrid notion that is happening. So how do we price ourselves? How do we assess our fees? How do we assess our value? And I think you're the best person to speak to that because you were doing it when advertisers were even asking when the internet was going to be around. So how did you price yourself? Don't tell us what your price is, but just how did you go about that evaluation of knowing your value and what to ask for?
That's a great question. When I started, we started with .coms who had, to your point, a lot. They were getting the $5 million, 30, 10, whatever it was for bad ideas. That really helped me start, but to sustain after that, once the .com bust happened, I went to where my relationship stood at that time, which was in television, film, music, and I had to bring my prices down. So, you figure out where your value is, and then doing that for a couple of years, I pivoted back into corporate, which had bigger budgets, and you can price yourself based on what the market is out there, and what it can withstand. But also at the same time, if you're starting a business out, if you're new, you want to be somewhat competitive as far as like you may want to need to undercut some other people, so you can't always go in there and saying, oh, this person's charging that, so I'm gonna do this. You know, I think a lot of people start businesses thinking.
So is it trial and error? Like, is there a formula? Is there a book that says this is how you assess your fees, this is how you assess your value, or is it really just doing it, and if you get rejected, adjust?
I don't think it's a.
'Cause I think sometimes we make entrepreneurship too complicated.
I think this, what the thing is like the road is jagged. I think the whole thing is you're making it up the entire time.
Absolutely. Can you say it again, Reggie? Please say it again.
You're making it up.
You're making it up the whole time. There's no magical answer. That's what we look for, is this magical answer. We like to read a lot of books. We like to say, like, how do we do it? And in particular, before I asked the last question with a clip, and then we're going to turn to the audience. I want you guys to start really engaging with us. Chef, I'm coming directly to you because, well, first, let me let you guys know. This smooth brother to my left is my Detroit player. Koozie down to the socks. He's coordinated with the socks and the tie. That's my Detroit player, baby. Give him that shoe, baby. Give him that shoe. That's that coordinated alpha sock. All right, so that's who Chef Max is. It's incredibly amazing. And so if we can please just roll his tape for us.
We didn't see an African-American chef. We just saw Big Mama cooking. We saw Auntie cooking on the weekends. And we just understood, wow, she can really cook. But that was really her showing her love, you know? It was a little more than just her cooking. But we didn't understand how to take it to the next level. We just said, okay, we're gonna leave it there.
So Chef Max, I gave it up. Chef, I saved you for the last because to me, you represent the heart of who we are. You represent the heart of our culture. You represent the heart of our community. We failed, we've succeeded, we've pivoted, we know our value, we know how to assess, we're humble. Now we have capital, right? So now, but there's that love factor, right? There's this issue of, well, I don't really think I can make money off of it because, I just love it. It's just a love thing, right? Like, I can't tell you how culinary is the new thing, is the new hot thing right now, how hot culinary is and how people are making these incredible sweet potato souffle specialties, and they're having all this really unique macaroni and cheeses with Gouda and all this kind of amazingness, right? And then they have all these pork loins and these grilled pork chops and, all these things that we grew up on. All these things we grew up loving. Now collard greens is in the category of kale.
Right. Or stuffed in chicken now. It's stuffed in chicken too now.
Yes, the chicken. This is what we've been doing.
Right.
I mean, so can you talk to us about that mindset of how we look at food and our relationship with it, and when do we begin to transition from, as you said so eloquently, I almost fell out during the taping when you said that, going from an act of love to seeing it as an enterprise?
I mean, because, it goes back to just growing up. You just always saw food on the table on Sundays, and you really didn't see it being monetized. So then, you're like, all right, well, I can cook. I love cooking. I can bake, but I don't know how to really sell this and market this. And so it's a fine line because you just don't know because you didn't see it. So now I come in as a chef, and I'm like, all right, well, I want to be a chef, but I don't want to work in a restaurant. I want to be a personal chef, and I started off as a corporate chef, executive chef at 21, and learning and understanding the whole corporate side of things. But I'm like, well, I can't make anybody rich. I can make myself rich.
Yep.
And so how do I do that and be a personal chef? I mean, I think Ty can attest to it. Just being in personal space is really tough because you don't know the prices of charge. It's always a makeup game. It's always, you're just shooting off the cuff a lot of times. But to bring it back, and I became a personal chef because I just wanted to show people love through food. I wanted to put it on the table and see you smile, and it always brings people together. You think about Sunday dinner, it brought everybody together, made everyone happy. So I just wanted to do that, but also monetize it as well.
As Chris goes on to the audience, please, everyone, just raise your hand if you have a question.
And yes, so we're gonna actually put out one microphone in the middle as well.
Yeah.
But what I also want to do just is let you all know, please keep your questions short. We want to get to as many people as we can with the time that we have.
And just to Chef, as we do that, as someone comes to the aisle to ask their question, Chef, not only is it just food, please come to the aisle. As you talk about that, that's really our narrative. We love clothes. We love fashion. We love shoes. We love working out, you know. We love leg
Amen.
day. We love hashtagging that, right? We can talk
Right.
about a brother's wingspan and his vertical and how
Yeah.
fast he runs a 40 like nobody's business. That's what we love, but we ain't making money off of it.
You're right.
Right? So I really want us to really think about how do we begin to change that narrative? How do we lift that veil? How do we begin to change and to shift? Brother.
Thank y'all so much. Thank you. I'm sitting here with my co-founders here. We run a higher education crowdfunding platform. And I'm sitting here, and I realized the whole time, I was getting tears in my eyes. I didn't understand why. And I realized, like, I've never seen this many, like, successful young black people in one. I've never seen it in my entire life. So, with that being said, where do y'all find your personal inspiration from? What drives you every day when you wake up? Where do you get that gusto? So that's my question. Thank you.
That's for everybody.
That's
No, we'll do one, if like two people, one or two people can answer.
Sure.
I basically study like great people like Oprah Winfrey, you know, Richard Branson, like people that I admire, and I see what they do and what time do they wake up, you know, and what do they read on their tables, you know, like I go into real details with people like that. Like, is Diddy sleeping now? Is Diddy sleeping at 4 o'clock? No, seriously, like those are the people I admire, you know, Nelson Mandela, like all the greats, Muhammad Ali. So I'm big on work ethic, you know, and what really drives me is like the competition is out there. You live in a big city, Miami, New York City, LA, Vegas, and Houston. You got to work harder than the average man, because like if a celebrity or somebody wants to come train with me, and the first question they ask themselves is, why should I pay him that much? What makes him different than every other trainer that's out there? I'm like, trust me, those guys are working 100%. I'm working 1,000%. What a lot of people tell me is that they respect that I wake up early. No matter, like I'm next to my phone at all times because that's my money. I go to sleep with it. I take a shower with it. Yeah, no, seriously. Like, I got to be next to it. You got to be reliable in business, you know. So what really drives me, like, number one is, like, the people that look up to me, you know, in my country, you know, and here, the people that look up to me, like, I can't give up. I can't say I'm tired. I can't say I'm sick. I can't say, oh, it's 12 inches of snow. I'm not going in today. I work on Christmas Day. I work on my birthday, you know, because I want the average person to look at it and be like, he's doing it. I can't let those people down. I don't want them to be like, oh, he knows my hero, but he didn't come to work for 2 days, you know? And anybody can vouch for that. I'm there every day. People are like, what drives you? I'm like, the people that are watching. You don't know who's watching. I'm not even talking about physically. I'm talking about even on social media. They might not follow you, but they'll go on your page and they're watching your everyday progress. Seriously, not everybody that follows you are the only people that are watching. You might have like 100,000 followers, but like 20 million people are looking at your page, and you don't know that. And I don't want to let those people down. And most of all, I don't want to let myself down.
So we're going to ask, I think Keno did that wonderfully, just in the interest of time and making sure other panelists have different questions. Brother behind you, thank you so much for that question. I really appreciate that. Yes, my man.
First off, I want to start by saying this is beautiful that you guys are doing this. So I commend all you guys for being up here and doing this. I really mean that. My question is for my man, Chef Max over here. I got a chance to know you professionally, and also because of that, you get to know you a little bit personally. I never told you this though. One of the things that I admire about you is that, you know, entrepreneurial spirit, that's all great, that's fine and good, but the fact that you pay it forward. I'm not going to mention any names, but we both know that your willingness to take time to teach the next person how to do it in the game, just love to hear just your ambition, what drives you to do that.
I mean, I guess because as I was coming up, you know, I always saw the guys in the community always grab somebody and like, let's take a ride. You know, they saw me playing basketball. When I finished playing basketball, they're like, you know, you want to go for a ride? You want to hang out a little bit? So I just always, you know, wanted to be able to, as I'm climbing, pull somebody else with me. And I knew that I can only be as good as my chef is under me, my team. So I just always wanted to create this whole team of chefs. But I had to first, you know, get to a level of success and expertise as personally, and then bring another chef with me and to continue bringing other chefs behind me. And so that's the reason why we created the culinary school. That's the reason we created the foundation, to always inspire individuals through culinary arts. So, yeah.
And I'll be remiss. This is a great moment. I want to make sure I acknowledge her before she leaves. Is talking about following and supporting and pulling it up and paying it forward. Rochelle Wilson, I want you to stand up, and I want us to give you a round of applause for all that you did. Rochelle got like a midnight call and said, we need help with our videos. And she said yes in a major way that saved us so much heartache, pain, and money and finance to yet these stories and narratives be told. So please, Rochelle Wilson, please stand up for paying it forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having us today. I am actually the colleague of Chiza. He was just here asking you guys a question. We're actually Rutgers University students, and like he said, we have a higher education crowdfunding platform. Our true mission is to bridge the gap. We don't want students to believe that college is not as much of an option as it is going from middle school to high school. We want people to think that it's just as seamless of a process. And coming from an inner city community, like all three of our co-founders, we're realizing that we don't want to sling dope, we want to sling hope, right? We want to be human navigation systems for these kids. And when we're approaching these guidance counselors in these different schools and we're trying to get our services into their programs, we're realizing that there's a disconnect between the middle income communities and the low income communities. The middle income communities are about the parents are involved, how do we get scholarship opportunities? The low income communities are like, how do we get these kids to understand that higher education is an option, that it's something that they should actually pursue and it's viable for them. So as someone who's kind of going through the daily notions of progressing this business, how do you guys evaluate, measure, assess daily progress, knowing that each task that you're doing is towards that ultimate goal and you're actually making an impact?
Landslide, Reggie. One of you want to take it?
Well, as far as in my business, as far as the goals,
or at least when you were starting in the startup, the very early stages of your business, how did you know that what you were doing each day was going to make an overall impact towards your mission?
You can tell she's in college. Okay. You are just a studier and just as smart as you want to be. You are just invoking stats and data and thesaurus and just big words. When we in college, we love that, don't we? Ooh, we just so smart. I'm like, oh my God, what's your question? Because I'm just confused. But Reggie, I love it. Reggie confused too. Reggie,
yeah, exactly.
I'm just stalling for him to get his answer. You welcome, Reggie. Thank me later. Thanks, me later. Mike. You welcome. I wanted no parts of that. I wanted no parts. She too smart. I wanted no parts.
Well, to be completely honest, I mean, you're not going to get a smart answer because honestly, when I started my business, every day was like just trying to figure out what am I going to do the next day. I didn't have goals as far as I was like try to make sure that I can still get paid for the business. I have more goals than things now. So it's more laid out now than it was before. It wasn't that sophisticated. It was basically this is what I'm trying to create. I have to find a customer, sell it, service. Get paid for it and go from there. And like I said before, I spent a lot of time just honestly trying to educate people because at the time the internet was so new to a lot of people. So a lot of it was education based rather than, trying to figure out like and also honestly too, you can't, I hate when people say, oh, what's your 2-3 year plan? Like, it's like, I'm making it up every day. It's like, so.
Great answer, Reggie.
Thank you.
No more college students. Coming up next.
This is a question from Mike. I'm here with a small contingent from my church, Riverside Church, and we wanted to do like a local My Brother's Keeper thingy at our church, and we're trying to figure out what's the best component. So sorry, other guys. I just want to get some advice from you on
Well,
that.
one, I love your church. You talking about the one on the Upper West Side?
Yeah.
I love that church. I visited that church. Yeah, give it up for Riverside, yeah. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful church. Yes, well, we are here. I'm the kind of guy, I stay until the lights come on, until they kick me out. So I'm going to be around so we can talk. You saw all the Team MBK chants that came up to the front. There's a lady here. There's Sybil Kwaku is in line. All of us are here. So all the people you talk to, we would love, love, love to do something with you going forward. Thank you. See how easy that was? Ask and you shall receive. That's what the Bible say. That's what that Bible say. Oh, look at here. Here comes a smart question. Brace yourself. This brother is just smart. He did an art tour for his birthday. That's how smart he is.
So I just wanted to say one of the most powerful elements of you guys being on stage is the vulnerability and the perseverance. While everyone's been in this room since then, Ted Cruz dropped out of the presidential race.
Oh.
And so, you know.
Breaking news.
We are a neutral.
This is a neutral zone. I just want to say that.
I kept a straight face.
So I'm thinking about that element of that drive and that perseverance, the fact that you guys are putting one foot in front of each other, in front of another day by day. Whether it's, you know, a tough rivalry in a football match, or whether it's just persevering day by day. I'm curious to know specifically, Lance, was there ever a moment where, you know, you talk about the highs, we talk about the highs, but the lows, who was the first person you called during that moment? For the lows?
Yeah.
Man, I had so many of them. Who do I call? Usually it's somebody who I look up to in some capacity, and I try to identify what the core of the actual issue is, right? We're talking about something that's business related, but at the end of the day, business, I think, really has a parallel to life. And, you know, whether somebody actually understands business or not, it doesn't necessarily make my choice. It's somebody who's gone through a similar parallel, right? And I have to just think back. And, you know, a lot of times your parents, family members are first, but other people have experienced different things that you really only do experience once you get into business. So I think your network expands, but it's really about just identifying the commonalities of issues and figuring out the best ways to get around it.
Follow-up question real quick. I'm curious to know, particularly being in an audience where there are so many women represented, can you speak a little bit, it's My Brother's Keeper initiative, but can you speak a little bit to the ways in which women have also played a role in your entrepreneurial endeavors, whoever perhaps you in your life? Yeah.
I mean, maybe Ty.
We wouldn't be here if it weren't for the women. No, it's important. You know, women, I mean, they run the world. I know that sounds crazy, but anyway. My mom, my motivation, my mom, my family, it's women. I mean, we can't do it without you.
Give it up for the women. Before Kwaku asks his question, the brother in the back with the turtleneck, you are the last question, I've been informed. So, right, Upperman? Just blame Upperman. Just blame him. Love you, Chris.
Well, no, it's great seeing all of the entrepreneurs up on stage and speaking to and seeing the videos and all of that. I guess my question is geared toward everybody. We're seeing you in points either after your pivot or in your pivot. But for all of the upcoming entrepreneurs in the room or people who want to start a business, because we always hear that message, start a business, and it's great. But what's the prescription for when you know you're in that pivot? What are the thoughts that were in your head when you stepped away from Vibe magazine, when you figured out that basketball wasn't for you, when boxing wasn't that thing? Like, for entrepreneurs that are in the audience or people who want to start businesses, what's like that prescription of, if you're thinking this way, if you're feeling like, man, am I crazy? Man, am I doing the right thing? My mom, what's that, like, I don't want to find out more of what you're thinking now, but what were you thinking in that pivot? What were those thoughts that are sitting in the heads of some of us even now while we're building businesses that can kind of help us along to get to that point where you are?
I hate this job. I think it's when you're uncomfortable. If you're uncomfortable and life is like you're feeling horrible right now, it's transition. It's time for change. It's like it's that feeling when you know that I cannot do this anymore.
And not to say that the feeling of being uncomfortable actually leaves when you become an entrepreneur, because it actually probably increases. But at the end of the day, it's a different type of discomfort that you will feel, and it's relatively invigorating. I think to the 10th degree, it's like unexplainable unless you've kind of gone through that process. And I think that alone really kind of led me to just want to say, let's just do it.
For me, I go by with my heart, you know. Like, I felt like I didn't want to go to training camp anymore for like 2 months and be away from family. I miss birthdays. I miss like important dates. So it just came down to making the right, you know, or the wrong decision. You know, I was like, I didn't want to. When you start questioning waking up and going jogging, or when you start questioning yourself, then you got to start looking for something else. That was my turning point. I was like, I got to find something else. Well, I'm still, like he said, still in basketball. Well, I was still in a boxing gym and don't miss it as much. Like I couldn't just go from fighting a sold-out fight at MGM Grant to a 9 to 5. And, you know, I would have went crazy. So I found something. Thank God that I was still in boxing. I see a boxing gym every day, and I don't miss it, you know, as much as I would have if I did something else outside.
I mean, I guess for me, I got to a point where I was like, man, I'm making someone else successful every day. I'm working 150 hours. My stress panel's crazy. I'm running the line. I got 100 cooks, 75 dishwashers, and I just don't want to do this anymore. You know, I'd rather just have 3 clients that I can deal with every day. And then I'm always in a constant pivot. So I'm always just thinking of the next innovative idea within my circle. So I think for any entrepreneur that's running a business or want to run a business, I think you always stay in that pivot. You know, you're just always pivoting to the next, the next opportunity, the next, brand of your company. So, but
Thank you.
That's a great question. Cool. It actually went to Kenneth's question about vulnerability. So that was able to get really vulnerable with that. So good tandem with you two. Yes.
Hi.
Hey.
My name is Kente. I work in the recording industry. And one of the things you talked about earlier was the importance of ownership. And my business, we are strategists, so we really place an emphasis on the importance of strong business practices with the clients that we consult. And a narrative that we often really throw up to give an example is Live Nation.
Mm-hmm.
Live Nation runs the largest stream of income for artists in the recording industry. If you look at their leadership, it's let's just give a rough number. About out of 15 of their board members, 13 of them are white men, and maybe 2 white women. And again, back to ownership. So I'm wondering, what is it that MBK is doing that we can do as well that will help to create a sort of influence on the incarcerated population? Because that's where a lot of us are.
Mm-hmm.
So what is it that we're doing as entrepreneurs, as SBA, as MBK, that is directly targeted towards the incarcerated population that impacts ownership in our
Great question. So what we did earlier, that's why we, give it up. That's a great question. When the Cabinet Secretary Broderick Johnson was here, we were talking about that, right? As we began to talk about all the issues that face young people of color, why it's important that we focus on entrepreneurship in particular. And the way we're looking at that is that entrepreneurship is just one piece or one tool inside the toolkit that provides economic empowerment. That's why we're focused specifically on entrepreneurship. But there are other areas and facets of MBK that are focused on prison and the prison population and the criminal justice system and all those areas. Because again, MBK goes from cradle to career and all the things that protect that. So the Criminal Justice Task Force that President Obama has issued that is solely looking into that. There are things from the U.S. Attorney's Office that are focused on that too as well. So as Broderick suggested, definitely go to the MBK website and the area that he talked about and click on those areas of interest that you have to really do understanding of how you can partner and connect with those type of areas within that. And then Chris has more to say about that too as well.
And I would actually like to add also that those are very great points. At the U.S. Small Business Administration, we actually take this issue very serious as well. So we actually, under the administrator's leadership, about a year and a half ago, we changed a particular rule on our microloan program. For many of you who are not familiar with it, microloans are just small dollar loans up to about $50,000 that you can access. As she talked about the challenge to get to large banks and get the financing that you may be looking for, sometimes you go to CDFIs in the community and work with people. We basically just changed that those who were formerly incarcerated can now access the microloans. And that's a really, 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 really big deal. I can't even tell you how big a deal that is. And so, speaking to that, we were talking about capital. We were talking about the access to the financing that you need for your business to even start or to grow or meet payroll or these things. We saw that was a gap in some of what we were doing at SBA. And so, once again, that's just one thing. I mean, there's so many things. I would really just encourage you to go to like the SBA.gov website, type in formerly incarcerated, reentry, go to White House, do the same thing, and you'll find a lot of information there.
We're actually not just offline. I would love to engage with the entire audience on this idea because we are currently, and I'm going to just let you in on something to kind of just, be honest and vulnerable. As we talked about really working through this program or this conversation nationally, if you will. So I would love to get your thoughts on my social media platforms as can we do it all at the same time? Can we do it all at the same time? Can we focus on education? Can we focus on financial literacy? Can we focus on the prison system? Can we focus on entrepreneurship? Can we focus on tech? Can we focus on coding? Can we focus on all at one time? Yes. Or is it okay for us to be tactical about it and to say, what is your strength? If your strength is coding, do coding. Do summits. Do programming. Create conversation. Change narrative around coding. If your passion is criminal justice, should we do that singularly? If that's your passion, if that is your heart. I don't know if we are as a community, if we have that luxury anymore to sit back and wait for one or two or three or initiatives or entities to do it all, right? When does we begin to take ownership of the things that we love, that we're curious about, that we have passions about, and then when do we jump out the plane and build the parachute for the things that we care about without waiting for the pilot to fly us and to land us safely? So that's a conversation that we're about to embark upon this summer that we'll be curious to hear your thoughts about. But, question.
Yeah, my name is Len Leach, and I'm one of the Riverside. Riverside
is here.
But this question is not about Riverside. About 2 weeks from now, I will be celebrating my first year as a business owner, where I started an IT outsource company, and I use a significant portion of my own money to do so. And I told my wife that we'll be broke for a very long time, and she stayed with me. Yeah, she stayed. So my question to maybe all of you as to how long was a long time. I didn't tell her how long we'll be broke. But how long was a long time for you in terms of your journey when you began your...
Reggie, I'd like to say that for you to take that because you were married when you started your company with that. But also we have 5 minutes remaining, panelists. I want to make sure we get to those last two. And I want to make sure everyone has time to network with each other and meet these panelists and just exchange information with each other. So,
well, I was married and I had a second kid on the way. My wife at the time thought I was crazy. She was like, we're having a second kid, you want to quit your job? So that was definitely an issue. But to be completely honest, I had already secured a client before I left my job. So I started my business with a very large, multi-million-dollar client. So I'm probably the wrong person to ask, but there was definitely some some bruises that happened. I mean, I'm in my 16-year business, so I've taken my lumps financially over those time to get to where I'm at now. But as far as when I left, it was in my head comfortable, and I had it figured out. It was about sustaining it.
Yeah. I wish we could do a deep dive on that if we had more time. So I would want Ty to jump into as well, because you have a daughter too as well, and that is a question that entrepreneurs have. How do I jump out that window when I have a family and loved ones to protect? So please make sure you connect with Ty offline about that, in terms of he can kind of bless you with some wise words too as well. Interest of time, sorry to speed round this, but yes.
Hi, I'm Tammy Williams. So my question is, because entrepreneurship is just kind of all over the place and you're always having ideas, how did you guys stay focused? And when did you realize that you were actually at that successful point?
Anybody?
Success is never final, so I would never feel like I'm successful. So that's what keeps me working every day.
That was great.
People say it to me every day, like, man, you're so famous. I'm like, what is that? I still go to work every day, and still want to learn more about being the best trainer, not just in the East Coast, but in the United States, in the world. So there's still more levels that I need to get to. So that's what, like I would never feel like I'm successful.
That's a good question. I want one more panelist to answer that. I don't care who, just one more as the next brother comes up. That's really important. When do you?
I mean, I guess I answered. I think the first time somebody pay you for your services, I think that's that's when you realize like, oh well, maybe I made it.
Mama, I made it.
Right.
Hey, brother in the turtleneck, you smooth. What's going on? Talk to us. You the last one. You better make it count.
Got it. Okay, so really curious.
Here comes the softball.
I can imagine that at some point in your journey, you felt like you were flying the plane while building it at the same time. If you can go back in retrospect and think about those things that you would spend less time doing, what would be those things?
Deep. Drops the mic on the last one. I didn't think you had it in you the way you set it up, but you came through. All right. I ain't taking that one neither. Panelists?
I think it's a constant evolution. I think that you learn things every single day. I'm one to say, and I really believe this, that every mistake you make along the way is like, you learn from it, right? And I think that the bigger thing in life is being able to do as much as possible not to repeat that same mistake, but without those mistakes preceding that moment, you wouldn't be where you are, right? You wouldn't know what you needed to do. And I think that it's really hard to make that assessment of like, what would I do differently? Because everything really kind of paved that way to get you there. And like, like it's been said multiple times, you're building that parachute as you're going down. So like, as long as you're staying afloat, you're not hitting the ground. So that's something that for me has always been important.
Ty?
I was going to say the same thing, but I would put more attention on me, do more for me, more than I would do for others. Just focus on me more. That would be the one thing I would do differently.
Yeah. Let's let everybody answer that for the last one. Reggie?
Well, with my business, I would have got a better financial
advisor
or controller in my business sooner.
Chef, you're the last one. You talk Lansing, right? Okay.
I'll do the same thing. Just get a better financial plan out the gate. Because you always kind of just making it up as you go. Mm-hmm. But I think getting a better solid financial base and understanding pricing, understanding structure, and just knowing your business and knowing that because I started so young, so I just kind of hit the ground running, not really knowing. So, but do a little more research out the gate.
And that's also I know for those of us who didn't grow up with, strong financial backgrounds in our families or things of that nature. It's even with me, it was a blurry line between somebody need to take the wheel on the financial side, and that's something looking back on hindsight, I probably should have did sooner.
Yeah, looking back, I felt like I probably we spent the wrong energy on the wrong people. I feel like and we're still learning.
Well, with that, I want you guys to go around, just go down and just give your social media handle. Just one social media handle you check frequently so the audience can stay engaged with you, they can connect with you, who may not be able to talk to you before we leave. Reggie, what's your social media handle you want to give out?
It's Instagram. It's Reggie T. Miller.
Reggie T. Miller, that's Instagram?
Ty Try1, TYTRYONE, that's everything.
I am at, that is everything. I am Mike Muse for everything.
I'm Mr. Chancla on Instagram.
Spell that, boy.
Yeah, for non-Spanish speakers, CHANCLA. It's Spanish for sandal, chancla.
Nice.
You get hit with it.
Mine is Hollywood, HINO, all one word. Do not let the videos scare you. And I'm funny on Snapchat. I'm funny on Snapchat.
I'm Chef Max Hardy, everything.
Ladies and gentlemen, the new normal. Thank you guys for coming out. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. And I wanted to just say a couple of things. Thank you so much for coming tonight. We really do appreciate your time here. And we'll go ahead and do a plug as well. Follow us at SBA Gov and our administrator at MCS for Biz. Once again, this has been a monumental evening for us. I'm just really impressed with all the faces that we see there. Let's give a round of applause for Mike Muse. And let's give a round of applause for this really great panel that we have here. And we really do hope that you guys stay engaged with us at SBA. Thank you. Have a good night.